You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for March the 9th here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. You notice I'm alone. Cindy has the day off. She's actually probably just getting into the airport in Nova Scotia. She was here in Ontario over the weekend, and she said that her plane got in before showtime, but it wasn't enough time for her to get to the house, get set up, and so on and so forth. So hopefully she had a good ride home, good safe ride, and she will return on Thursday. Don't forget, help us spread the word around, like and share our broadcasts, all our broadcasts here on the network, and help people get informed. So, all right. So for today's news, as I said, I've got 5 stories. I've got one that a governor who wants to shut down a voter-approved medical cannabis program. If people approve this, your constituents voted for this and they approved it, why would you want to take it away? So we're going to learn a little bit about that. Health Canada, they've got a reminder for producers, as well as Germany. Over there, they allow cannabis social clubs, where people can get together and grow and reap the benefits of that harvest together. So we're going to learn a bit about what's going on there. And we're going to start off with a story where some veteran groups in the U.S., they want to have better access to natural medicines. So we're going to get started there. And that comes to us from a story from Marijuana Moment. As you see, the headline says, Veterans Group urges Congress to expand psychedelics and marijuana access to mitigate suicide crisis. Multiple veterans groups advise congressional lawmakers about the need to continue exploring psychedelics and cannabis as alternative treatment options for the military veteran population at recent hearings on Capitol Hill. Now, at the series of joint hearings before the House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committees last month and recently, representatives of veteran services organizations testified about the need to promote innovative approaches in mental health treatment, in part to help mitigate the suicide crisis that's disproportionately impacted those who served. Now, Dan Wiley, National Commander of the American Legion, said recently that the organization's number one priority is ending veteran suicide, which involves finding alternatives to conventional therapies because pills and therapy have objectively not worked. We need stronger transition programs, innovative therapies, and improved safeguards to medication management, he says, while going out of his way to add that after a decade with the American Legion, he says this allows for veteran research on how it can reduce drivers of suicide. Now, the American Legion does not support use of illegal drugs, but we strongly support research that could result in new effective treatments. It's no secret. It's no secret that far too long doctors have prescribed opioids, which are destructive and addictive to our veterans. And the American Legion, by resolution, supports alternative therapies, Wiley says. Also, other representatives from the Wounded Warrior Project addressed the Joint Committee, providing members with testimony that emphasized the urgency of expanding research into innovation and emerging therapies by investing in new treatment approaches that provide personalized, effective care for mental health and substance use disorders, including psychedelic assisted therapy. Now, they say with more research and commitment, psychedelic assisted therapy provided within U.S. borders and through the VA can become the next beacon of light for those hoping to overcome their mental health struggles. Now, Karen Whitmore, Commander-in-Chief of Veterans of Foreign Wars, spoke to the issue in written testimony ahead of a joint committee hearing recently, referencing federal survey data showing that younger veterans use cannabis and hallucinogens at significantly higher rates than older veterans, reflecting both changing attitudes towards alternative therapies and persistent gaps in treatment effectiveness for younger service members. Now, as a result, some veterans are actively seeking alternative treatment outside traditional VA frameworks. And I imagine that they are. VA's not approving this, and people are going to use something that they find that is effective. And as more veterans speak up and share their stories, the more people will learn about the benefits of these other medications, and maybe try them themselves and improve their lives. And there's never anything wrong with improving your quality of life, especially when you've been dealing with the stuff that veterans deal with. And if we can get them help, this isn't about getting high. This is about improving and saving lives. So hopefully they can get something done and get that changed. So, all right, from that story, going to move on to the next one. This one comes to me from StratCan, and the headline there says cannabis sales in Canada passed $2.5 billion in 2024-2025 as alcohol sales decline. Federal and provincial governments brought in $2.5 billion from the sales of recreational cannabis in the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2025. This represents an 11.5% increase from the previous year and includes revenues such as net income from provincial cannabis authorities, excise taxes, retail sales taxes, other specific taxes, and licenses and permits. Now, for every dollar Canadian spent on alcohol, governments earned 53 cents. For every dollar Canadian spent on cannabis, government earns 45 cents. While cannabis sales increased, alcohol sales revenue declined by 4% over the same period. Now, the largest annual decrease since Stats Canada began tracking. Now, sales of the recreational cannabis by provincial cannabis authorities and other retail outlets increased 6%, or $300 million compared to the previous fiscal year, reaching $5.5 billion in 2024-2025. Now, despite this growth, the rate of increase was down from the 11% increase in sales in 23-24 and a 15.8% drop in the 22-2023. Now, the price of recreational cannabis also decreased by 1%. Now, cannabis sales in 2024-2025 were equivalent to $167 per person of legal age. Now, in the Yukon, it was $384, had the highest sales per person. Quebec had the lowest, with $105 per person, largely due to the province's restrictions on some product formats. like edibles, vapes, and concentrates. Mind you, I believe that is changing. Now, as I mentioned, it's changing. Quebec began allowing sales of cannabis sales in November of 2025 and only allows the sales of limited edible products. So those sales are just getting started. Now, dried cannabis flower remained the largest cannabis product category in terms of sales, but extracts continue to gain market share. Now, inhaled cannabis extract was the fastest growing recreational cannabis category in the 24-25 year. That's up 13% year over year, reaching nearly 1/3 of the total sales. Now, sales of cannabis edibles, they declined by 2%, while its market share declined from 4.3 to 4. Now, dried flowers market, their share declined from 61% in 2023 to 59% in 2024. Now, Canada has collected more than $5.4 billion in federal cannabis taxes since legalization, with $4.2 billion of that going to the provinces and territories. And I know right now I have some cannabis friends out there that are asking, where's all the money going? All that money that I've just rhymed off, where's it all going exactly? I will take it easy there, Wayne. Thanks for the comment. But yeah, that's a lot of cash, and people are asking, where's that money? We saw something there recently in Massachusetts where they gave away $100 million to different organizations and schools and municipalities and cities for building infrastructure and things like that. It'd be nice if we could see something here in Canada from our provinces and from our federal government, just to give us a bit of an idea on what it's doing. So, all right, move on from that story on to our next one. This one here, it's coming to me from the International Cannabis Business Conference, where they approved in Germany, has approved cannabis cultivation associations, total nearly 400. That's a lot of associations. Cannabis cultivation associations, which are sometimes referred to as cannabis or social cannabis clubs, have emerged as a key component of adult use legalization models in Europe. Cannabis clubs have existed for many years in Spain, but operating in a gray area. They used to operate here in Canada. I know that in Toronto alone, there was a dozen of them, but that was like 5 years before legalization. And then laws changed and they all sort of faded away because of the laws. So now licensed cultivation associations are expressly permitted in Malta as of July the 1st in 2024, and they are also legal in Germany. Now, cultivation associations involve adult cannabis consumers becoming members of the associations and sourcing their cannabis products legally. According to the Federal Association of Cannabis Cultivation, most recent data shows that 397 cultivation association applications have been approved so far. Now, that's out of a total of 836 applications that have been submitted so far nationwide. The German Cannabis Business Association recently conducted a survey posing the question. Currently, there are at least 368 approved cannabis cultivation associations. How many do you expect by the end of the year 2026? Most responses indicated numbers between 400 to 600 growers associations, with a clear focus on around 500. Now, some participants estimated significantly higher number figures of up to 1,000 or even 2,000 growers associations. Now, overall, the results suggest that the majority expect a significant further growth in cannabis cultivation associations by the end of 2026. Now, the industry the industry association agrees with that, and they wrote that in a recent article that they put out. So yeah, that's something that I know that there were groups here in Canada that were fighting for the medical end, for patients to be able to form an association, to grow together, to help each other, and to supply themselves with cannabis. But as you know, for at least those here in Canada, we don't have those, and it would be nice to see that added. I'm sure a lot of people could use the help. So, alrighty, from there, gonna move on to my fourth story of the day, and this one is coming to me from StratCan, and the headline on this one says that Health Canada reminds cannabis producers of rules for facility tours. So who wants to go check out cannabis factories, so on and so forth, see how things are done, let's find out what they can do and what they can't do. Now, as part of its compliance and promotion efforts, Health Canada is reminding cannabis producers that facility tours must follow the limitations under the Federal Cannabis Act and regulations. Specifically, the memo notes that tours must not include public access to operations or storage areas for standard license holders or access to storage areas for micro license holders. For standard producers, this is because under the federal cannabis regulations, access to each operation area and storage area must be restricted to individuals whose presence in those areas is required for their duties. And now the holder of a license for micro-cultivation, micro-processing, or a nursery must ensure that access to each storage area is restricted to individuals whose presence in the area is required by their duties. So it doesn't look like you're going to see anybody's storage areas. Similarly, the holder of a license for analytical testing must ensure that access to each storage area is restricted to individuals whose presence in the area is required for their duties. In addition, cannabis accessories, or cannabis packaging and labeling cannot be displayed or otherwise be visible to a young person, or tours of facilities where cannabis may be visible must be restricted to adults. Holy smokes. Why even take a tour? You got all these restrictions. Man. Now, any marketing and promotion about or during facility tours must also comply with all applicable federal and provincial restrictions, including requirements related to age-restricted promotion. Now, federal license holders should also carefully consider whether any services offered during the tours or other activities could be perceived as inducements. That's right. They're not allowed to have inducements. So, in other words, you can't offer something. You know, like you go in a liquor store, you can see a big bottle on the shelf and a little bottle attached to it. Yeah, no, can't do that. Now, lastly, the new public-facing documents notes that any rules regarding on-site consumption during a tour are overseen by provinces, territories, and municipal jurisdictions, not federal law. So if your province, there's no reason other than they just don't want to, but why not a province allow these consumption places to happen? There's lots of people out there that can use them. People that maybe spend a bunch of money on a condominium that the condominium association now tells them that they can't use cannabis in the unit they just paid over $1 million for. Yeah, no. All right, now Alana Davies, CEO of Dabble Cannabis, an outdoor cannabis grower in Vancouver, on the Vancouver Island, says that the guidance does not offer any real clarity or support. I don't think there's no support there, especially for outdoor growers who are unable to allow visitors inside their actual cultivation areas because of these restrictions. So you're going to go to a cannabis place hoping to maybe see all these different kinds of cannabis, and this doesn't look like you're going to see any. Now, outdoor farms are unable to designate their own operation areas without a costly fence addition, which really defeats the purpose. It's a shame Health Canada puts time, effort, energy into these clarifications and guidance documents instead of creating policy that actually works for and supports what the industry is trying to achieve, a successful legal market. It's still, the stigma, all that stuff is still going on heavily in the government and provincials, municipal, federal. Yeah. Now, Dennis Haney, president and CEO of New Brunswick Echo Canadian Organic Inc., an indoor microproducer with the farm gate license, highlights the importance of tourism opportunities for cannabis producers. Says for producers like Eco Canadian, facility tours and farm gate experiences create an opportunity to connect with customers in a much more personal way, similar to winery tours. Now, they allow us to educate visitors about what we do, how we grow, and the care that goes into producing organic cannabis products. But to me, it doesn't look like they get to allow to show anybody any of this stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you go see some pictures or some film footage or something. I don't know. It just doesn't. What's left to tour? Offices? Like, I don't know. Maybe you got some displays, boards and things like that you look at. I know that there is a micro producer within 30 miles of me that is looking at doing farm gate and tours and all that. And, someone who was telling me about it, they were questioning. I'm like, really? You're out in the middle of nowhere. Who's going to come and see it? So, I don't know what the end result is, but, maybe someday I'll find out and go see for myself and what you can actually see at these tours. So, all right, time for me to move on to my last story of the day. And this is the one that, really irks me when voters vote on something and they approve it. And then the government's got to go along and twist and turn it around and try to make changes. And here we go. This coming to me from normal.org. Headline says Oklahoma governor reiterates call to shut down state's voter-approved medical marijuana access program. Really? Voters approved for this, but yet he wants to shut it down. Like, are you not there to represent everybody? And everybody people voted on this, and your constituents said, let's have this. And you say, no. Yeah, that doesn't work that way. Republican Governor Kevin Stitt is reiterating repeating the demands that the state's voter-approved medical cannabis access program be shut down. In a March 3rd post on X, the governor wrote, Oklahoma's marijuana experiment has failed. It's time to shut down this broken system. The governor made similar remarks in February during his State of the State addresses. Following those remarks, Senate President pro tempore Lonnie Paxton said that he disagrees with the governor's stances, adding that he believes the program should be better regulated but not abolished. In his latest post, the governor claimed that cannabis use by teens has risen following medicalization. However, state data provided by the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey shows that youth cannabis use is largely unchanged since 2019. 6-7 years now, and that it has declined over the past 2 decades. 57% of Oklahomans approved a ballot initiative in 2018, legalizing the production and dispensing of cannabis for authorized patients. Approximately 315,000 Oklahomans are registered with the state to access medical cannabis products. So this governor just wants to shut down the program and send these 315,000 people off out into the distance with no access to their medication. Like, what the? It's just not right. Shouldn't be doing that. Taking medication away from patients just because you have some negative feeling towards cannabis, but yet you probably have no problems on, drinking or taking pharmaceutical medications. It just doesn't make sense, but I digress. So, all right. Share away, like, and hit the subscription button, all that stuff. I'll get those words out. But other than that, that's the news for today, people. Thanks go out to everybody for tuning in the program, as well as the comments. I didn't get to all the comments, but keep bringing them in, and when we have time, we'll bring them up on the screen. Other than that, thanks go to our sponsors, Limestone, Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. We'll see you Thursday. Seeing you back then, 10 o'clock Eastern. And as I always say, and I've been saying this for 16, 17, hang on. 16, 18 years now. I've been saying this thing. And slowly but surely, things are changing because people are getting educated. People are getting medicated, and more places aren't incarcerating people. But it still goes on, and it still happens. And people are getting hung for this. And it's just not right. It's not right. All right. Thanks, Buddy Weeds. You have a great day as well. And to everybody else, I say, as I always say, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.